If you're ready to maximize your free time, deal less with the stresses of the day, and really get on with savoring every minute of your life after your career, then you're in the right place. Great ideas, tips, and inspiration to help make your life after all that work stuff richer, fuller, and more of what you want. This is Smart Retirement Life.
Hi, this is Mark Hager, and you're listening to Smart Retirement Life, a show where we talk about ideas, products, people, and more to help keep you inspired as you continue to create the life that you want. Now, today I'm joined by Bruce Ahmes, an inventor and career renovation contractor. He's created a new product that is incredibly interesting, which can not only make your home more safe, but life at home a little more easier. Now, Bruce got his start early in life. His father was the head structural engineer at Grumman Aircraft when they built the Lunar Excursion Module to carry a crew of 2 from the lunar orbit to the surface of the moon and back for the Apollo program. So he came by his love for creating honestly. Now, Bruce has been a contractor now for over 40 years. And when the idea for his product came to him, he returned to his roots and created a design that is truly unique, which he also holds a patent for. And the product, which you'll get to learn more about here in a few minutes, is the BRAK tub. Now, you might wonder what in the world could be new about a bathtub. And I get that. I felt the same way when I first heard about his product. But as I discovered personally, what Bruce's design is probably going to make you say something like, wow, that makes so much sense. Why didn't somebody do that earlier? And with that, Bruce, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Mark, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Now, I have to tell you, I was really glad that you agreed to be on the show. You know, in my work, I'm privileged to see a lot of new products and ideas. And sometimes they're innovative, and sometimes they're not. Now, the BRAK tub is definitely an innovation, but instead of me talking about it at length, why don't you tell us about what you created? Tell us about the tub.
All right, Mark, what I did was I always had during renovations, I would have customers always say to me, you know, do I use the shower base for space or do I use a bathtub for bathing and resale value? And I wanted to know why couldn't you have both? And one day I was taking a shower in the bathtub, and I have a curtain on my bathtub, so I was feeling really cramped with the space in there, and I was kind of like getting mad at myself and saying, why can't I have the same amount of space in this bathtub like I get in the shower?
I think we've all been there.
My first idea was to try and make more space, and what I did with that is mentally I thought to myself, let's just take a shower base and give it tall walls. So, you know, the ledge that you have around the bathtub on all 4 sides is always made back in the day when you only took a bath. You would have the ledge there for your shower, your shampoo, your soap, your razor, and that was why it was so big, because you were always sitting down in the tub. But then we stood up in our tubs to take showers, but we never changed the shape of the tub. So what I did was I took the shower base and took the back wall of a shower base and made it tall so there's no ledge in the back anymore. And what I tried to do in the front was to give myself the most room I can possibly do. And what I did there, which is what the patent is all about, it's called an undercut. So on the front apron, instead of coming down sloping into the tub, I came back down and I tucked under the front apron, and that's the undercut. So what that did was it took a 30-inch bathtub and it gave a 26-inch floor space in a 30-inch bathtub. So the original intent was only to make the most amount of room as possible, but then it dawned on me that the undercut made it so much safer to step out of the tub, because it's like the bullnose of a staircase. When you're climbing up the staircase, you tuck your toe underneath the undercut, and as you step out of the tub, your toe and your heel can be close to 2 inches apart, when normally it's about 12 inches apart. So that 2 inches apart allowed your center of gravity to stay straight up and down, and it just happened to make the tub like the safest bathtub in the world. It was incredible.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was actually my next question. You know, let's talk about the little deeper about the value, right, that this tub brings to people in their daily lives, with the safety of the tub and how much easier it makes that bathing experience. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, the undercut, which is like I said, the patent on my tub, gives you 5 benefits. It gives you more floor space. It gives you more volume in the tub. It makes it easier to step out of, and it also makes it when a woman is bathing her children, when you're outside the tub, you can actually tuck them underneath you under the undercut, and you're not going to hurt your back as much. And the last thing it does is the shape of the undercut actually works like a splash guard and throws the water back into the tub, so it's going to stay dry outside the tub, which also makes it safer as you step out onto a dry bathroom floor.
Yeah, I could have used that 1,000 times when the kids were smaller.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people get back to me because I've sold hundreds and hundreds of tubs or just about. I mean, we did the patent 2 years ago. I've gone to China and made the tub. I patented the tub. I'm warehousing the tub. So a lot has happened in the last 2 years, but I've just about sold 1,000 tubs already. And everybody comes back to me with their own personal benefit of the tub. I even had a dog groomer who, grooms dogs and bathes dogs in bathtubs, used my bathtub and was saying the same thing as the woman who bathes the children, but she kept the dog a lot closer to her while she was washing the dog, and she also said it didn't hurt her back as much. Then I had somebody else, an older woman, tell me that not only does it feel a lot safer to get out of, and when she uses her handicapped chair, it doesn't tilt on the curves, it's on the flat bottom of my tub, but even as she was going to get out of the tub, when she stood in the tub and reached out into the bathroom to grab her towel, she felt like it was right next to her now, whereas she used to lean so far just to grab the towel. So there's another benefit that somebody just threw at me that I didn't even think about. The fact that you can get closer outside the tub because you're tucked underneath the undercut and you can reach your towels a lot easier.
Well, let's go back to something you said just a minute ago, something I would like to explore. And you said that it made this tub safe, right? The safest tub in the world. Now,
Yes.
let's talk. It's easy to make a claim like that, and I'm not saying that your tub isn't, but I want people to understand what that really means, right? What makes it that safe?
Well, when you think about an old bathtub, the way they are, they're shaped like a paper cup. And the reason why they're made that way is because they come out of the mold a lot easier. But what that means is the top of the tub is wide and the bottom of the tub is narrow. So when you go to step out of the tub, you always step back until you hit the flat part of the tub. You don't step on the curve. You step back till you hit on the flat part where it's, textured and non-skid. And then you straddle over the apron of the tub, which means your feet are pretty far apart to make that straddle. So if you're standing in a wet tub and you're landing with a wet foot on the tile floor, you got two wet surfaces that you're straddling from and to. So now your feet are so far apart, so obviously you're going to slip down because your center of gravity is so spread out that you have more side friction than you do up and down. Now when you use my tub with the undercut, instead of stepping back, you're actually stepping forward to tuck your toe underneath the undercut. And then as you step over the apron of the tub and your foot comes down on the outside of the tub, your toe underneath the undercut and your heel outside the tub, they're only 2 inches apart. It's almost like a ballerina on ice. The reason why a dancer doesn't fall on the ice because they always keep their center of gravity straight up and down.
Right.
And they're sliding around on a piece of metal that's like 1/4 of an inch thick on ice. How much more slippery can you get?
Mm-hmm.
But they never fall because their center of gravity is straight up and down. So this tub allows you to keep your center of gravity straight up and down because your feet are close together as you exit the tub.
Well, that's excellent. And let's talk a little bit about what that means. Okay, so when you're talking about your center of gravity, obviously, and I know you're very familiar with this because we've talked about it before, the bathroom is like the most dangerous place in the house. And more accidents happen there than any place. So how does that center of gravity affect, your ability to stay safe or keeping you from falling?
Well, if your feet aren't spread apart and you're not, doing like a Jap split as you exit the bathtub,
mm-hmm.
it's like all your feet are straight underneath you. So
mm-hmm.
there's no side friction at all, no side slippage because your weight is straight up and down. So if your weight is straight up and down, you really shouldn't fall anymore. It should stop all slip and falls. I'm not going to say it's going to stop at all. I can't say that because you can't know what people are going to do in the bathtub. They're going to fool around. The kids are going to, fight in the bathtub. They're still going to have falls in the bathtub, but I'm going to help prevent all of those accidents that happen as you exit the tub.
And thinking about that safety at home, our audience, right, is mostly people who are a little bit older and who maybe are concerned about their own homes, right, in terms of their own safety and keeping themselves healthy, but also maybe the grandkids, right, making the bathroom a little bit safer for their grandkids when they come over too.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head, because all the studies we've done with the tub was based on an adult, like an adult leg length, so the straddling over was all determined based on an adult with like a 32-inch inseam. So when you tuck your toe underneath the undercut and as you step out, the degree of angle between your legs, we got it down to almost just 5 degrees. Where a normal bathtub,
Wow.
and this was done by an IBM engineer, did a mathematical study on a regular bathtub. When you step back on the curve and as you straddle out, the degree of angle between your legs is like 17 degrees. So we have it down 3 times better, and that's talking about an adult with a 32-inch inseam. But think about a little person, a little kid who has little short legs. So that's even worse for them, because they're not that high off the ground. Their inseam might be 25 inches or 20 inches, and it's going to be even worse for them. So my bathtub helps them even more, just giving them the ability to step out.
That's excellent and very, very, very inventive. Very, I got to tell you that I'm really impressed with it. Now, I will say, for those of you that are listening, I'm going to have some images and videos posted on the site. So if you're listening to this someplace else other than AgeInPlace.com, head on over to the website and look for the post with Bruce, because I'll have some images that are going to make this very clear for you, exactly what he's talking about and how this thing is designed. And also have links over to his website so you can learn more. Now,
Right,
Bruce,
Mark, and on
go
the
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No,
On the
go ahead.
website, we did it's a 90-second video, and we do a demonstration of stepping in and out of an old tub and then stepping in and out of our tub, and we show an actual handicap chair, how it doesn't sit flat on the old tub, and how you have so much extra room in our tub. And I kneel down next to the tub, simulating bathing children, how you can tuck them underneath you, and then I show how the shape of the tub, works like a splash guard. So there's a 90-second video, and everybody who sees this video, if I could just get 100,000 people to see this video, you just get it. You just get it, what it means when you watch the video. You just get it, how much it helps.
Well, we'll make sure that we give them links so that's available to people. Definitely want to get more people to see it, because seeing is believing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
let's switch tracks here real quick and talk about what's on the horizon for you and your company. What's coming up that's exciting for you guys?
Well, we are thinking of add-ons to the tub, and we also have added to our patent one thing already. And this is not for everybody, but it's for the visually impaired. We added to our patent not only the shape of the tub, but we can make a tub with a 2-tone color. And that means is, and again, for the visually impaired, the reason why this has been added to it, it's like when you go to the city and you go to the subway. And on the platform of the subway, they paint the end of the platform another color. Because some people that are visually impaired don't see the end of the platform and where the tracks are. They walk right off the end of the platform because they can't see the difference in the height. So what we did was, on the very top rim of our tub, the top of the apron, and all around the back 3 sides, on the very top rim, we have another color, and it's the same color on the very bottom of the tub. So now as you step into the tub, you can actually feel the bottom before you even touch it. And that, again, is for the visually impaired to lose their depth perception. So we added that to the patent. The other thing we're going to do in the future, and we're also concerned about heat loss, and everybody always says, well, isn't a cast iron tub better than the acrylic tub? And I say no, because you realize when you fill up a bathtub of cast iron, the first thing that happens is all the hot water goes to heat the cast iron. And then what you have to do is you have to drain the tub down a little bit to add more hot water. But then everybody feels like, oh, well, then it keeps the water warmer. But that's only because after you drain it down more and add more hot water, because you wasted all that energy to heat up the cast iron. with the acrylic tub, it's like the pots and pans. Your pan is made out of aluminum or whatever it is, but the handle is acrylic. And the reason why it's acrylic is because it's a good insulator. So when you put the hot water in the acrylic tub, it doesn't lose the heat that a cast iron tub loses to heat up the metal. And I think, and I'd love to find out who could do this study, because I think the energy costs to fill up a cast iron tub would be more expensive than heating up or filling up a tub that's acrylic and not losing the heat like you do with the cast iron. But another thing we're about to add to the tub is in the near future, we're going to insulate the tub with styrofoam after it's built. First you make acrylic, then you coat it with fiberglass to reinforce it. But we're thinking about adding styrofoam beyond that, so that's actually an insulated tub that also isn't anywhere on the market as well.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
And one last thing we are going to do in the future, because we have so much space and people always think about big volume and bathing, they always think about something that's jetted. So we are leaving just enough space around the tub, because we took all the wasted space and stuck it inside the tub. But we have to give a little bit back on the outside, because in the future we're going to add the tubing around the tub and make it an air-jetted tub.
Wow.
But
Well,
again,
that's pretty exciting.
That's way down the road.
Yeah.
My biggest thought is the safety, the volume, the insulation, the two-tone tub for the visually impaired. But in not so far future, maybe a couple of years from now, we're also going to jet the tub.
Well, along those lines, what I counsel people, when I'm talking to the everyday Joe and he's talking about things that he can do or she can do to their house to make it safer or more in line with their lifestyle now versus what it was, 15 years ago. Just because, well, let me put it this way. Safety and comfort don't have to be exclusive, right? I mean, you can have both. And you saying you want to add jets, I mean, why shouldn't you be able to enjoy it a little bit more too, as well as have that safety? There's no reason. That's excellent. All right. So one thing I like to talk about with everybody that I have on the show, because this is the way I personally feel, about companies, and we need to be giving back to our communities and whether that be the contributions or involvement or what have you. I think it's responsible, right? So why don't you tell me a little bit about how your company is giving back?
Okay, one of the things I did just recently, I joined an organization on Long Island called LIBI, Long Island Builders Institute. And that brings together a lot of builders and, tradesmen and all these different people into one organization. We all talk to each other, and what are you doing? What do you got? How can I help you? How can I help you? So I've shown my bathtub to a lot of builders, and I told the builders, we normally give a good-sized discount to a builder anyway, because he's not buying one at a time and two at a time. He's buying tens and hundreds and sometimes thousands of tubs at the same time. But I also told the builders that if they have any communities that they're building for the elderly, assisted living or like aging in place, communities 55 and older, I was going to give a special extra discount for those projects that are going to help the elderly. So a normal discount would be, 10% or 20% across the board, but I'm adding another 5% if it's something to do with the elderly.
That's
and that's
excellent.
going to go right into the pockets of the people who really need this tub.
That's awesome.
But just it's something I want to do because I'm on like a bit of a mission now that I've got this tub and I see all the benefits to it. And I just feel like everybody should have the tub. Again, if you're going to compare my tub to another tub and it's basically the same price, why wouldn't you take my tub?
Mm-hmm.
It gives you so many things beneficial across the board. It's like this is the way a bathtub should have been designed the day we stood up in our bathtubs to take a shower. And what has happened over the last 130 years, and the bathtub has not been redesigned in over 130 years. And that's because our lifestyles changed so quickly, the bathtub never caught up to us. It was just, that's the way they make it, that's the way people think it's supposed to look, and they just kept on doing it. We could put a man on the moon. We can't make a safer bathtub. I did it because I wanted to do it and because I just come up with this idea, and it just happened to become a very safe bathtub. But
That's
I've had
awesome.
people talking to me, like the head of the person from research and development from Ferguson Plumbing Supply. The lady's name was Melissa. She sat back in her chair and she said, Bruce, I can see this bathtub being the only tub sold in the future. And I had somebody from AARP also see the bathtub, sit back in his chair and say, Bruce, you did it. You made a better mousetrap. And even some of the associates that you sent the bathtub to, the guy sat back, and I say this now a lot of times because it was so clear. You did something so simple, it's genius.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about. Something so simple of a change because it hasn't been thought about, because nobody thinks a bathtub should be anything but what it is today. So they don't even think it should look like anything else.
Yeah,
But now that it's been redesigned, it should be.
Yeah, the to give some context to that for people who are listening, before early on in my conversations with Bruce, I took I gave a bunch of my peers links to his website and his video so they could see the tub. And people that are in the building industry and in medical professions, so they could see it and so I could get their ideas about it. I obviously was impressed with the design, but I'm not a designer, right? I'm also not an occupational therapist. I don't get out there and work with people in their homes every day. So I really wanted to just get some opinions from people who I trusted. And I sent it out to about, I don't know, eight or nine professionals. And the response was very consistent across the board, that people, they all liked the idea. They thought it was so simple, it was genius, like you said. That was actually a quote from someone who I had sent it to. So yeah, I was just doing a little bit of homework before we got to this point and we did an interview. You know, obviously I wouldn't tell anybody to go out there and buy this. This is exactly what they needed. But for people who are concerned about having a tub, who want that in their homes, then this is definitely safer than a standard bathtub. Before we get out of here, why don't you tell folks how they can learn more about the tub and get in touch with you?
Okay, the tub, we have a website. It's called BRAKTub.com, and that's BRAKTUB.com. And on that website, like I said, I have a 90-second video. And if you watch the video, you're going to get it. You're just going to understand all about it, and you're going to say the same thing that I've been hearing all the time. How come somebody didn't do that before? It's so simple of an idea, but it really makes a difference. And my email is bruce@braktub.com. But if you ever call the website and you ask for sales, I'm going to be answering the phone. So I'm going to be there to answer any questions that you have and guide you into how we can get a tub to you if you want it. We're 40 years in the business, so we also built this tub and made all the plumbers happy because they like an acrylic tub because it's not crazy heavy. Gets set in structure light like every other tub, has a standard drain. You know, the plumbers love it. So we kept everybody in mind because we saw all the problems they had installing other tubs and this and that. We tried to correct everything.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again, Bruce, for coming on to share with us today. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you for having me, really. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. All right, folks. Well, there you have it. Straight from the man who created it, a bathtub that is safer and easier to use. Good for folks who are a little older, families with young children, and even makes it easier for you to bathe your pets. As Bruce said, if you'd like to learn more, you can visit the BRAK Tub website at BRAKTub.com. Now, I'll be including some extra links and information in this post on the website if you'd like to see more before you contact Bruce. Thanks for listening, and until next time, I'm Mark Hager, and this is Smart Retirement Life.